Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the all-new ANBERNIC RG34XXSP. And there's a lot of similarities here when we compare it to the RG35XXSP, but we've got some new features here also, which are pretty great for a small foldable handheld like this. Round back here, we don't have a hatch, so we can't easily access the battery, but we will do a teardown just to take a look at everything. But the main difference here, obviously, between this and the RG35XX is the fact that we get two analog sticks at the bottom of the unit. I also mentioned that there's a lot of similarities here, and that's because it's using the same CPU. We've got the H700, so we know how this thing's going to perform. We've seen it time and time again from the company. But when it comes to the overall layout, as you can see, we've got our menu button, four face buttons, A, B, X, Y. Nice D-pad, we'll test that by the end. Start, select, and those smaller recessed analog sticks right there at the bottom. Taking a look around the unit, over here on the right-hand side, we've got a micro SD card slot, reset button, our power button, and two LED indicators. On the left-hand side, a volume rocker, another SD card slot, so we've got dual SDs on this. Up front, 3.5mm audio jack for our headphones, and up top, USB Type-C for charging and mini HDMI for video out. They are offering four different color variants. I've got two of those here, the Indigo, which is more of a GameCube style, and yellow. And at first, I wasn't digging the yellow. It's bright, it's loud, but after using it for a while, I kind of like the color. And if you want, that special edition Pikachu look, then this is probably the one you want to get your hands on. But they also offer a gray and a black version. Before we get into shipping, pricing, and testing of this thing, I wanted to give you a quick overview of the specs. And again, it's using that same CPU we've seen quite a few times from the company, the H700. So we've got a quad-core Cortex A53 CPU up to 1.5 gigahertz. 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is more than enough for the systems that we're going to be running on this. It's got a 3.4-inch IPS with a resolution of 720 by 480. It is coming in a bit smaller than the RG35, hence the name, RG34. AC Wi-Fi, so we've got 5 gigahertz, Bluetooth 5.2, and it's got a 3300 milliamp hour battery. When it comes to pricing and shipping, over on their website right now, at the time of making this video, they state that China to US shipments have been restored. And if you've been following all of the tariff issues with these handhelds, you know that they did stop shipments to the US, but it's going to ship within 3 weeks. Now, I got this a couple days after it went live, and they did have a promotional price of $59.99, so $60, but regular price is $68. One of my favorite handhelds that ANBERNIC ever released was the RG35XXSP. I've got a couple different color variants. I personally love these, fits right in the pocket. You can play a ton of different games. I mean, thousands of games are going to be fully playable on something like this with that H700 CPU. And it might not sound like a huge difference going from a 3.5-inch display to a 3.4, but it is noticeable when they're side by side. The RG34 is a much smaller unit, but we do get the inclusion of those analog sticks down here, and they feel pretty decent for what we have. But given that this is powered by the H700, I'm not too sure how many, higher end platforms will really need these analog sticks for. And then the reach down to them, can be a bit cumbersome, but they are usable on this. They're not totally null. Shoulders and triggers are using micro switches. And when it comes to the main face buttons and the D-pad, they're using imported Japanese dome switches, and they've got a real tactile feel to them. The 3.4-inch IPS display here does look great, and it's perfect for something like GBA emulation. That's mainly what I've been playing on this thing, but since we've got those analog sticks, we've got the extra controls, so we don't have to do any kind of funky setup for something like N64. And the H700 does a pretty decent job with N64. We'll take a look at that in just a bit. But I wouldn't expect to be running, every PSP game with this. We know that it does handle Dreamcast pretty well, PlayStation 1, and this chip has been extensively tested by a ton of people because again, in 2024, ANBERNIC did release several handhelds with this same CPU. So you're not going to get a performance jump over something like the RG35XXSP. You're going to be dealing with the same kind of performance, but I gotta say, with these Japanese dome switches, this D-pad is awesome. Fighting games, platformers, you're going to be good to go with this. And like I mentioned, it's got a nice tactile feel, so you can really feel if you're pressing the right button or not. kind of gives you a little bit of feedback there. And the way they've got this D-pad set up, I mean, pulling these fighting moves off in something like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is pretty easy. The next thing I wanted to do here was pull this thing apart and just give you a look at the internals. I'm not exactly sure how they have this set up. And again, we don't have a hatch back here to access the battery. It should be replaceable once we get in here. I mean, if you don't mind taking these 4 screws out of the rear, let's go ahead and easily take this off. It does feel like, yep, battery is connected to the rear half of the shell. We can go ahead and unplug that. And it's not making contact with the CPU or RAM or anything like that. There's a gap right there in between it. 3300 milliamp hour battery. And getting in here a bit closer, you can see we've got that H700 CPU there. No cooler on it. I mean, we really don't need it with this. Even when it's thermal throttling, it'll handle, all of the games that we want to play on this machine here. It's not a high-end chip by any means. It does look like we'd be able to easily replace these analog sticks if you ever needed to. And yeah, I mean, I actually do like the overall design here. Kind of wish they would have kept that 3.5-inch display. When they're side by side, it is a noticeable difference in screen size. But, if you've never had that RG35 and you've been looking for something with those built-in analog sticks, then this would probably work out really well for you. Another thing to keep in mind is that RG35XX does have access to the battery, so it's very easily replaceable. And in the RG34, we could definitely replace it, but there is some adhesive holding it to the rear half of the shell, so keep that in mind. Overall, I do think it's a pretty nice design. This is definitely an everyday carry handheld. With that screen folded down, slide it right in the pocket, don't have to worry about scratching anything up. This did come with a glass screen protector that I haven't installed yet. And outside, the screen is visible at full brightness, but I'm not in direct sunlight. I mean, with any of these smaller handhelds, even at full brightness, if you're in direct sunlight, you're going to have a hard time playing it. But outside, in some shade, you could definitely get some gaming done. So overall, nice little design. Kind of wish we had a bigger screen and a newer CPU. Seeing something with a bit more power to kind of utilize games that need those analog sticks in a foldable like this would have been great. But at least we know what kind of performance we're getting into, and this thing's capable of playing thousands and thousands of retro games. And right now, on the market with the H700, we've seen a lot of third-party firmware that I'm sure will come over to the RG34XXSP in due time. But that's going to wrap it up for my first look video. If you're interested in learning a little more, maybe picking one up, I'll leave some links in the description below. And let me know your thoughts on this thing. Would it be nice to have a bigger screen, more powerful CPU? What would you want to see changed or in the next revision of something like this from the company? Let me know down below. But that's it for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.